If people want to be successful, but will not let certain things go. And what I'm saying is, okay, just make it really, really simple. I'll take my pen here. Okay, got my pen in my hand. It's a real simple concept. As long as I hold my pen, I cannot grab anything else with this hand. Sounds very simple. It's pretty elementary, right? Well, there are many people who are doing the same thing mentally. They're holding on to something that is not going to let success get anywhere near them. It's just not going to happen because I look back at what I let go when the last job that I ever had that I got laid off from, 1999. I remember what the guy said, and he said something. It's like I can get you another week or two, but eventually we're going to have to let you go. And I said, I will figure it out. At that point, being laid off didn't really faze me anymore. It just, it's just part of life. It's just some stuff that's going to happen. And I left there different. It's hard to describe, but essentially, the fear of getting laid off was gone. It's just gone. I mean, it happened. I lived. I moved on. Except the difference here was I embraced it immediately. Immediately. So I let go of the fear. I let go of all these preconceived notions, and I just said, "Fuck it. I'm gonna do me." And I created this whole thing that ended up getting me pretty damn good job in about 6 weeks. About 6 weeks. That's what it took from start to finish. And part of the Hustler Mindset Project is really predicated on changing your mindset. And I'll say that 1,000 times, and I'll bring it over and over and over. And people are like, yeah, Glendon, I know, I'm tired of hearing about this inner game. Give me some techniques. Give me some strategies. Okay. And I said, I hear you, and I give you strategies, but they require hard work. And it's like, yeah, Glenn. Yeah, I know the course, but man, that's 12 hours. That's too long. You got some in 30 minutes that can, help me make 10,000 a month. These are the emails that I get. I mean, sometimes I was just going to come to do a roast email, and then, nobody would write me anymore. That could be an idea, but people haven't let go of certain notions, considerations, and you cannot, and I've said this, and I've got several videos talking about this, you cannot become wealthy, whatever your definition of wealthy is, whatever that is for you. Because see, my definition is right now, I'm wealthy. I'm rich as shit. And it's not about money. It's about time. Today, I worked really, really hard. I did 2 presentations, talked to a lot of people, put together stuff, releasing the first session of the Project YouTube tonight, worked on that. And it was fulfilling. It was fun because I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I'm not doing what I have to do. I'm doing what I want to do. And that really changes you. Now, to get to doing what you want to do, you have to let certain things go. You might have to let cable go. You might have to let the comfort of living on your own go. You might have to move in with somebody. These are the concepts that many people don't really think about. They just kind of, yeah, I keep hearing that because this is something else. And this is something that I had to let go of myself. I used to believe that people had special advantages. You would look at someone and go, wow, they're successful because X, Y, and Z. Now, sometimes that's true. Sometimes people have special advantage. Sometimes it's true, but not always. And you had to really learn. I had to learn the difference between looking at something and assuming someone has special advantages and knowing they had special advantages. And then I started to have more clarity on what people were doing, how people were being successful. But if you have it in your mind, and this has been a topic lately on the station, because it's the Hustler Mindset Project station, that whenever I say something about Black folks, it's like, well, I don't hear you ever calling out anyone else. And to anyone that, and you'll hear more about that in the future, because we're going through a big change. Like the stock market just dropped like 900 billion today. We're going through a lot of changes. Remember what I told you about how Warren and other people were sitting on cash because they were waiting on something to happen? Well, this might be the beginning of that. The word is it's probably going to happen toward the end of the year. But essentially, when you are looking at how people are becoming successful and you're assuming and you're not really looking at it and you're not paying attention to these things, you can kind of get a little lost. Now, what does that have to do with Black folks? Okay. Black people in this country, United States of America, are canaries in the mine. So whatever happens to the Black community as disproportionately, whatever you want to say, at some point, it's going to spread out to the rest of America. I've seen it. 2011, 42% of all kids born in this country are born to single mothers. And there are like 115 million white women and only 44 million Black people. All, that's from 0 to 99. Who do you think was having the majority of those babies out of wedlock? It's white women. Majority. And it's going to escalate. But when I say these things and people get all bent out of shape, or they want to have conversations, or they don't want me to be so harsh, and I'm going to just say this: I can never, ever be as harsh in these words or coming here on the station saying things as life will be to you. I can never be as harsh as cancer. I can never be as harsh as a tragic accident. I can never be harsh as waking up one day and finding out that someone you care about deeply passed away the night before. I can never be that harsh. And where I'm going with this is, if you're offended at me, or, I'll say with Charles Barkley, because Charles Barkley said something, a lot of people got offended, and he told the truth. It's, to Black folks, and I expect to see the comments like, you shouldn't say this, and don't be calling out Black folks, and don't be airing out the dirty laundry. Don't do that. We'll just keep having these fucked up problems and talking about them in quiet, but ain't shit happening about doing it. Charles, I am not a hater of Charles Barkley. I'm not a fan, but a lot of times he says shit that is true. And he says it in a very unapologetic way. And that's what rankles people, because he's not like, well, I'm not trying to step on the, he's just like, this is how it is. That, being Black, and this is one of the things that if you are Black and you're a male and you're going to have to let go if you want to be successful in these United States of America, is this notion of being, quote, authentically Black is having a very bad background. Essentially, if you didn't go through poverty and have to dodge glass and bullets and walked over crack vials on your way to school, you're not Black enough. And which is stupid, because that little girl or that little boy that grew up in the mansion and both his or her parents were Black is as Black as that kid in the hood. But culturally, now this is where I say things and people disagree with me. Culturally, if you have two kids, regardless of ethnicity, and you put them in a certain environment, they're going to perform the same. And that's why I say culture trumps everything, culture and environment. So if you have a bunch of people in a very jacked up environment, and where I'm going with this is, what I brought up about how the market dropped, we're going to have many people, Black, white, green, purple, whatever, in the same economic boat, will not be able to find a job, will be suffering, will be living with their parents perpetually, can never, ever go out there and really start, and do this thing like living on their own. It's just, it kind of became really interesting to me how many people that I would run into who had roommates and stuff, and you talk to them, and it's always been like that. Always been like that. And that's going to be the norm. It's going to be the norm because it's going to be very difficult when you got 2 or 3 service sector jobs for you to pay rent or mortgage by yourself. It's just going to be really challenging. So you can expect a lot of shared housing. And this is part of letting stuff go. For you to be successful, you got to reduce your burn rate. And this is something I talk about all the time, but people are not hearing me. Wednesday Classroom today was talking about productivity hacks, which give you more time. In the future, I'll be talking about how to really tune that burn rate down, because if you go to the blog, I talk about how I wrote that first book. And the reason I was able to do it, I didn't have any debt. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't have any expenses. But you cannot live the dream and chase the dream at the same time. And that's what trips a lot of people up. They just get caught up in that I got to be looking good while I'm trying to live good. So you get that session and it creates this crazy level of expectations and energy that many people just cannot fulfill. So how do you let this stuff go? How do you how do you become successful? First thing you gotta do, you gotta get really real, where you look in the mirror, and if you got a wart on your nose, you don't go, I look okay with this wart. No, it's like, I'm fucked up with this wart. And then start working on ways to get rid of the damn wart. We're in this culture, and it's becoming acceptable to be fucked up. And what I mean is, I'll go way back in the dark ages, BC, before cable, when if you were in school and you didn't perform, the teacher would say, you got an F and I'm going to leave your ass back. I grew up in that world. We have kids now who are flunking, but they're being passed along because they want to look good and be socially acceptable and not embarrassed because they're not doing their schoolwork and they're not learning. And there's many factors. Number one, your first teacher should be your mom and dad. I knew how to read before I went to school. There were a lot of kids there who did not know how to read. And I'm not going to slam parents to say this, because the way that this system is set up, if you got both parents working and kids are latchkey kids, they're going to miss some very important stuff in those formative years. Now, I grew up poor, but I didn't grow up, how can I say it? We were poor, but there was structure. My grandmother was a school teacher. That's how I learned how to read. Before I went to school, she taught me how to read. So even though my mother was, quote, a single mother, she was not a single parent. My grandmother was a parent and my mother was a parent. And to be truthfully told, my grandmother was really my mother. Just be straight up with it. So I had that. I had someone at home with me until I went to school. I don't recall going to daycare. I recall going maybe kindergarten, but I never went to daycare. Didn't know what it was about. A lot of my friends, they didn't go to daycare because I grew up in that culture where there was always someone at home. That's why a lot of people in my group didn't, there were people fucking. I wasn't fucking because I was a little nerd. Nobody was giving me anything. But there were people fucking, but not as many as today. And my graduating class, there were a lot of virgins. Nobody was hey, I'm a virgin. But I remember a few weeks before we graduated, a friend of mine was having this dilemma. She was dating this guy that was 3 years older, and he wanted to close the deal, and she was still a virgin, and she liked him, but she didn't know where it was going, and she asked her opinion. And everybody's like, girl, keep your legs closed. Totally different than the day. Totally different than the day. Girl, get rid of that virginity. Get rid of it. And one of the things about looking at hardship, there's this book, How Children Succeed, by Paul Tugh, I believe. It has a bunch of pencils on it if you see it on Amazon. The key points of the book is adversity. So another thing you have to let go to be successful in life is shit is going to be hard. And I see it because I'm not going to say any names, but I'm getting sick and tired of seeing certain Facebook sponsored posts that I know are 100% bullshit. Because, full disclosure, I was looking at doing that stuff, and I just thought, I know, yeah, I'll make money, but it's bullshit. It is really bullshit because typically for you to be successful online, you will work your ass off in some capacity. And this whole set it and forget it and little everyone that I know and respect who's successful online has a voracious work ethic. And you see them consistently working, 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 working. And then there are people, and the thing is, this is 2015. This is in mere days, it'll be my 6th year of doing this. So I've seen a lot of people come and go. A lot. A lot. And then I started looking for people, and that's because typically there's like a 2 to 3 year life cycle. They'll come out, they'll blow up, you'll see them, everyone. There'll be all these joint venture partnerships, and they'll do this, and you'll see people who you're like, wow, these people together, but they're making money, so it doesn't matter. And you see all of this stuff, but where's the longevity? Because if you want to be successful in this stuff, and not to say that you can't blow up, because some people legitimately blow up. They'll come up with something and bam, it's all over the internet and they're making crazy money. That happens, but that's atypical. That's another thing that people have to let go. I will say this, and I've changed this because a few years ago I was saying, yeah, you need 3 to 5 years to build a business. You could build a business that will support you marginally, I would say, support you, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, have you in a decent car. You can build a business like that in 12 to 18 months if you have the right information, if you're tapping into the right markets, if you have the right pricing, there's a lot of ifs in there. If you have the right price, if you have the right marketing, if you have the right product. So if you put all of those moving parts together in 12 to 18 months, yeah, you can have a business that will support you online. Now, what kind of businesses? Because this is the big thing. The way that I set up the Hustler Mindset Project was to help you discover what you want to do. And what I'm finding out is people just don't know, which is valid. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's not really the problem. The problem is many people feel that if they go out and do something that doesn't work out like they want, they wasted time. No, you haven't wasted time. And I'm having that conversation over and over and over again. It's like, no. That's how you develop experience. That's how you can connect the dots. That's how you can see how things are and put stuff together. And it comes from experience, because I will say this: failure, messing up, it doesn't feel good. And it's hard in the beginning to reframe that as this is just a lesson on how not to do something. That's a hard thing to do, but you've got to push through it, because what I saw, and one of the reasons that I got a question the other night, it was really funny because it was on several videos, and I'm just going to start mentioning it over and over again. I'm not a reseller. Now, this is 4th year I've said that. And people come in and they'll watch certain videos and they'll watch all of them, because there's a ton of them. So if you haven't been around from the beginning yet, I can understand why you don't watch all these videos. There's literally 600 hours of content on the Hustler Mindset Project station, which is insane. But I'm not a reseller. I really stopped storage auctions 2009, really pulled back from Craigslist 2010, 2011, and just started working on this, because you can't serve 2 masters or 3 masters or 4 masters. And I'm going to say something. Resale is awesome. You can make a ton of money. But I looked out and I started looking at the number of resale groups. For you guys who are reselling now, you're dealing with stuff that I never even had to imagine dealing with. I remember going to an auction with 20 units and there was 5 people. I wasn't operating in this environment that you're operating in. And that's one of the reasons that I pulled back from the resale thing, because I'm not operating in the waters. And I've said this and I put this out there, and I have people who want to tag me like a deer by like these zoologists, and tag me and throw me out there in the resale wild. And like, no, you see, you got this resale tag on your ear. Yeah, that's all you're ever going to be. And I was like, no, I've moved on. Another thing that people have to let go is people change. People change and move on every day. And it's a problem for some folks to understand that. They just can't really get a feel for what people are doing, how people are making massive changes in their lives. That is a problem for a lot of people to accept, because when you get into personal development, I'm heavy into personal development, and I want you to be into personal development. I want you to either buy my programs or buy someone else's, but get into it, because this is what happens in the life cycle of the average person. They're born, they grow up to a degree, they have sex with someone, they produce kids, usually work a job they don't like, or if they can tolerate it, that's considered a win. Maybe retire, maybe not, struggle in old age and die. That's the life cycle of the average person in the United States of America. That's the life cycle. And it's just a better way, in my opinion, if that's what you want to do and you're cool with that. But part of my drive, and I think I have a unique perspective, is I worked in a hospital setting for a long time. I worked in 3 different ERs. I came to close to death daily. I would, go in someone's room and I hear the death rattles, and I'm just like, they're not going to be. I mean, you could just feel it. They're just like, they're leaving. They're like, checking out. I will see you mofos later. And it's just the first time it happened to me. And it always is a creepy thing when you discover the person's past. I remember one night I was working in the emergency room, and this guy that I was just talking to like 10 minutes prior, he seemed fine. I go in the room and I'm thinking he's sleeping. And I look, the monitors all flat. Oh yeah, the monitors didn't go off. Yeah, someone got fired over that because someone didn't do maintenance. And I'm like, yo, and I'm like poking him, right? And did his post, and like, he's not here anymore. And I go get the nurse and everything. She does everything, and everyone's getting ready to run in, and then she says, no, he's gone already. He just left. And I've talked to people who were in the middle, and this is something that I have to say that is really impressive with humanity. I've talked to people who knew they were dying, and it's really impressive when you talk to a kid, someone 6, 10 years old, and they know they're dying. And they'll sit there and talk to you as straight. I mean, just, yeah, I won't be here next year. And you feel so bad when you hear that. And they're just like, they're not cool with it, but they're handling it with a level of grace and dignity that is stunning. And they're being strong for their parents. And, one little girl, because he's working Skies right, and she just like, yeah, mom's freaking out. So I try to be strong for her. And she's the one dying. This was going on. So my perspective is, you don't know how long you have left. You have no clue to how long you have left. And you got to get as much joy in life. And joy is a byproduct of action in doing things and building stuff. So another thing you have to let go to be successful in life is you got all the time in the world. Not really. Not even if you're a kid. I've seen, once again, I worked in a pediatric hospital, so I've seen a lot of kids pass, and it's always just, it freaks everyone out, because sometimes people you expect to make it, they gone. Then the person who's like, he'll just go to death's door like every month and be like, yeah, I'm not going in today. Bounce back up. You see him walking around, and it's just like, So I have this really different perspective on life, liberty, and other things. And that's why freedom is so important to me, because I've worked a ton of shit jobs. Some were cool, a lot of them weren't. And I know what it is to be on that side. For some of you, you haven't done that. You may have a job, you're not happy with it. You don't make as much money as you want, but it's not as uncomfortable as it needs to be for you to move from it. And that's something else you got to let go. You got to self-motivate. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to tap you on the shoulder. And I'm really at odds with the passion movement. follow your passion and the money will come. I don't believe that. And just some other stuff. I don't believe in karma. And people are just like, hey, bad karma. I just think that karma is a way that some people make themselves feel bad when other folks do fucked up things and they feel powerless. So karma's like, I'm not going to get you, but some mysterious force in the future will. I don't believe in that. I've seen too much fucked up stuff to believe in that. So when you're looking at your life, you can't live it on the predication that your reward will be later or something. No. I mean, I'll admit I've done some fucked up shit. I really have. And it's funny. I got more rewards from doing like I'm talking about truly dastardly stuff. And usually that's when somebody's done something to me. I will own up and just go, well, no. I'll own up to my shit. And nothing happened to me. Now, when I used to be the nice guy a long, long time ago, in BC, oh my God, every time I turn around, bullshit was happening. It was just like, it didn't make sense. But there's natural law, universal law, and then there's, federal law and the natural. It's just a lot of stuff that you have to understand. Number one, laws don't care. And I'm not talking about like code law, like the laws on the books, Constitution. I'm not talking about that law. I'm talking about natural law. Those laws don't care who employ them. They don't operate on morality. That was a mind fucked for me to understand and to accept, because if you're brought up like I was, be a good person, do the right thing, and bad things won't happen to you. That's not true. That's not even close to true. That's not even in the universe of true. So when you're out there, you're doing this and you're just like, but I was playing nice with you. And why did you poke me in the eye? The laws don't care. They just don't care. And then the thing is, one of the reasons I recommend the 48 Laws of Power is not so you can do that stuff to other people. It's so you can have a way to realize what people are trying to do to you. One of the reasons I don't watch a lot of television, because television will program you. I'm going to give you something, and this is kind of going off, but I've noticed it, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. Regardless of body mass index, any woman on television can kick any man's ass. Now, the reality out here is, quote, if you're a man, you're predisposed to be a molester, a rapist, and if you raise your voice, the woman should call the cops. But in TV or the movies, they're so powerful that one woman can kick 5 or 6 asses of guys, and I'm just sitting there like, and what that's doing is programming young girls, and it's something else. And I don't share this on my Facebook page because the algorithm is what you share, it'll give you more of. So when these fight scenes and stuff, I just don't click like. I don't really. A lot of times I just go past them because they're horrible. But there are more and more girls who are being brutal, and I think, my opinion, that what we see in art is mimicked in real life. And you've got these girls doing this, and they're throwing these haymakers, and then they run across the wrong girl, they run across the wrong dude, and they're on the ground and they're screaming, but I'm a girl. And it's just a madness. And that's something else that you have to let go. The world has two things. It has two faces. It has the face that it presents to you, and then like the Wizard of Oz, there's the real shit that's going on behind the scenes. So once you can understand and decipher the real stuff that's going on behind the scenes, your life will be easier. You'll be able to deal. You'll be able to handle certain things. And this is what comes to be to how to be successful in life, which is accepting the brutality of life as well as the beauty of life. You got to accept both. One cannot exist without the other. And many people just want the beauty, the good, the smile, the joy, the happiness. And that's where you're going to run into some massive problems. And I mean massive problems. Seriously, massive problems. So when you are looking at putting together your success plan, you've got to reorientate your mind for success, which means it has to be open. You have to let stuff go. You might have to change 180 degrees as a person. I know you hear in this culture, there's nothing wrong with you the way that you are. And if you're happy and everything's going the way that you want it, cool. But if nothing in your life is going the way that you want it, you are the only common denominator in that situation. Anyone can have a bad day. Anyone can have a bad year, bad month. Some people have a bad year or so. And at some point, the ship were right. But if your life is perpetually fucked, there's something that you're doing, and it's usually how you're thinking. Or, you can be in like a crazy environment, because I saw this one scene where everybody just jumped his kid. And another thing, don't share that stuff on Facebook, because many times you'll get 5 seconds, 30 seconds, and you get no context to what went down, who started it, how did it get. So you're just, that's horrible. And then someone will insert their perspective and context, and you're sharing something based on a lie and you don't know it. That's common. I'm that guy that when I see a news story, I go Google, start researching, because, years ago when I first joined Facebook, I would share stuff and then someone's like, oh, that was bullshit. And I'm just, damn, got me again. So I started, before I put stuff out, at least I have a working knowledge, or I'll, spend 30 seconds, maybe 5 minutes researching and reading stuff. And so much stuff is just thrown on you that is nuts. Just really, really nuts. Let's see. And it gets to be really, really crazy in this old quest of, looking for success. And I know there's someone's going to put in the comments, like, what are you looking at? And it's called a computer, because I am checking, because I like this live and people are because like I said, I didn't announce this. I just did it. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. When I would do these hangouts, and I would announce them and put them out, I put out so much content in the terms of videos, blog posts, that people can't keep up with that stuff. So the new thing that I'm doing is I'm going to do the content. I'm going to put it out and leave it where you can find it. So if you're looking for it, here it is. And if you want it, you can drink from it, and we can go on like that. And that's one of the ways, because I was going to do this video, let it go later on the night. And I said, you know what, I'll do it as a live hangout, see what happens. And for those of you who are going to ask, is this going to be normal? Yeah, I'm going to do more of these. Wednesday classroom is going to happen, and some more stuff's going to come. There's the calendar stuff. And then if I just feel like, hey, I want to throw out some content, I'm going to throw it out, because I like this stuff. It's fun. So that's what's going on. There'll be more Wednesday classrooms. There'll be more like Project YouTube, Project Quest. All this stuff's going to go on this whole month of July, because another thing is, in keeping with the theme of this talk, is I had to let go of everything that was resale to really move on. And it felt pretty damn good, because I've been a reseller since 2000. I was a reseller since 2000, really let it go 2012. So 12 years. And, talking about resale, I've like ordered shit across from China. Like now I'm in many groups and I watch, because the information I get is amazing. This is how you used to have to ship shit from China. You had to get a purchase order or factoring or something, anywhere from 20 to 50 grand on credit. It took 6 weeks to sometimes 12 weeks for it to get to you. So you had that kind of money tied up for 3 months. When you get a container, shit will be broke. Shit will be broke. Sometimes shit will be missing. So you got that, and you got to have a place to put it, warehouse it. And it's just, when I look at what people are doing now, I'm just like, wow, things have changed so much. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because I will say this, if it had to change, and the internet is breaking down barriers. But if everyone had to order stuff from China like you had to do back in the day, many people would not be in business, because they didn't have the money. It was a money thing. You had to have money back in the day. And when I say money, minimum credit line, 50 to 100,000. That was minimum to play the container game. Minimum. Now, if you got decent credit limits, you know, 5,000, maybe 10,000, you can play that game. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into a little business knowledge because I see that some people are running into this problem and they don't know why. And they've just kind of hit this wall. When you get to a certain level of scale and you're selling stuff and you're ordering stuff, there's a logistical gap. It's very hard to have just-in-time ordering. I mean, it's a science. People do it, and it's possible, but it's a science to it. And if you're a small seller, you may not have the resources to get all of the pieces that you need to make that work. So usually what this gap is, you'll have stuff and you'll sell out and you have to wait till it comes in, and it may sell as well as other stuff and may not because there's a gap. And in that gap, there's another seller coming in selling stuff. People are starting to run into that gap, and the reason they run into that gap is because they don't have cash. You know, I'm in groups and people are talking about getting their payouts quicker so they can buy stuff. They're completely flipping their cash. They're not building enough profit to sell, order, and live. And that's a very dangerous place to be. Been there. I'm just saying. It's a very dangerous place to be because as you sell more, you get bigger, you take more risk. And I'm going to tell you something. A container is going to get jacked. A container is going to get held up in customs, and your money's going to get tied up. Now, if you've got operating capital and other things going on, you'll be fine. It's just a nuisance. But if you're highly leveraged, like I see many people are, when that happens, it's going to be a very short trip to you being out of business or having a serious impact on your margins for the year. Because I look at it and I'm just sitting there like, okay, that money is there. It ain't free. And so many things can happen. But I will say, if that's what you want to do it. Make it happen. But I'm just giving you a quick business lesson on importing and exporting, because right now it's weird. Like air has always been different than ground. It's always been different, like a different set of rules because it moves faster and it's lighter stuff. But what's coming by air now is huge. It's huge. So when you look at that, and that's one of the reasons that I like what I do, because selling is fun. Putting stuff out is fun. It's I mean, it's an amazing way to make a living. My big problem, and I'll just get into more business lessons, was I would get something and it was a hot seller. And damn it, I couldn't get it anymore. Had people who was like, take my cash. Open up my hand, put $100 bills in there, and I want to get it. And I couldn't take their money because I didn't know when the shit was coming in. And there was one piece of furniture that was, I mean, I was hooked up with 6 different wholesalers. And when that shit sold out, none of them had it because it was all coming from the same damn factory. It was horrible. There's nothing worse than you got something that people want what you have and you can't get it. It is irritating as fuck that you just sitting there like, oh my God. I mean, and I will tell you something else I did. And this is how I learned where stuff was coming. I was selling furniture, and there was a piece of furniture that I saw that came from this wholesaler, but it wasn't in my catalog. Because when they had their catalog on the table and I saw, it's like, wait a minute, I know these people. I do business with these people. So I go down there and I talk to them, and the lady says, no, that's not for you. You cannot buy. We have contract with them. So what these people were doing, I can't hate them. You know, don't hate the player, don't hate the game, learn the rules so you can win. These people went to the factory, set up contractual agreements for them to produce a brand of furniture that no one else, private labeling, except it was private labeling and it wasn't, because it was still having the wholesaler's name on it. It's just they were the only ones that could get it. So they would get this stuff and it was nice and it was different. It's very unique. And then everything that all of us could get, they would bomb the shit out the price. I had a bedroom set I was selling. I could sell that sucker for $1,200 all day long. It only cost me $550. I would do free shipping, free delivery, not free shipping. Then they started selling it. They started selling it for $650. I had people who bought that set call me back up and was like, hey, can I like get a No, no, no. I was like, whoa, had to stop selling it because I could not give my customers all of the service and perks and stuff that I had grown accustomed to with that line. And they ran a lot of people out of business. They really did. And this is just what I see. And when, I have these moments, and like I said, I'm not going to do any more videos dedicated to those two places. We will not mention their names. It's just, I've been there and I know what's coming once you reach a certain level of scale. And that's why you have to diversify, because something else, I will go back, that I think everyone needs at least 5 sources of income. If you have a business, you need to have 5 sources of income. It's mandatory now. You got to have that. It's just so risky and dangerous for you to have 1 or 2 that it's just really not a good position to be in. And going back with my story, when we got our big slap by one of the places where I will not mention their name, if we didn't have other sources of income, we would have been out of business. It was just that simple. It was a struggle because we were top heavy with that. And I stayed up like 2 weeks straight. It was just terrifying. So when I tell you this stuff, and some people just, I saw it come, it was like, well, you're just saying that because you got kicked off. And the reality is, if I can remember the passwords, the accounts are still open. I just haven't used them in years because I don't trust them. It's just that simple. I could go back and do it, but I couldn't sleep at night. And I know that, I see that. I'll give you another example. There was this guy, we were going back and forth about 5 years ago in the group, and he was pretty much insinuating that I did something wrong. Now I have a really, really good memory. And I saw the other day that he is now suffering the problems I suffered. So I took the low road. I didn't blast him on the main thread. I spent the $1 because we weren't friends. And they'll charge you $1 sometimes when they email people. And I just went into it, and it's like, see, I told your stupid ass what was going to happen. Now I know you're not going to be a man and answer me. And then I went ahead and pulled up the thread and also screenshotted that and circled what I told him was going to happen. And he just like, you were right. That's all I got back from him. You were right. 5 years, So when I put this stuff out there, this isn't like I'm just hating there. I want you to be unsuccessful. I'm just telling you, if you become too top heavy with that stuff, when it goes bad, it goes real bad. Really, really, really bad. Like scary, crazy bad. So just some things that I want you to be aware of. And for you to be like really, really successful, you're going to have to become comfortable with change. More so now than any point in history. I grew up where stuff was so the same year after year. It was boring. Just nothing really changed. It's very stable, and it's great for kids. You get bored, but you develop a sense of confidence and surety, certainty that, when you wake up, the world's going to be that way. It's not like that anymore. It's not even close like that. You just have to embrace change. You have to really, really push it and own it, because where we're going as a society, as a culture, is so different now. It's insane. It's just seriously, seriously insane. And it gets to be really, really funny. And there'll be more of these hustler mindset philosophy talks.